Does the Bible promote agnostic theism? At first glance, the concept of agnostic theism, believing in God while acknowledging uncertainty in fully knowing his nature, might seem paradoxical. However, when we distinguish between how we know, epistemology, and what is, ontology, it becomes clearer. The Bible supports this distinction in subtle yet profound ways. Consider the example of Abraham, who followed God's calling without knowing the full scope of his plan, Hebrews 11 verse 8. His faith wasn't rooted in certainty, but in trust. A trust that was grounded in a relationship, not in having all the answers. Similarly, the blind men in Matthew 9:28 believed that Jesus could heal them, even though they hadn't witnessed his miracles firsthand. Their belief wasn't built on tangible proof, but on a coherence of trust that had been formed by what they had heard and understood. Even Jesus in John 20:29 praised those who believe without seeing, suggesting that true faith often flourishes when certainty is not present. These examples aren't mere illustrations of blind faith, but rather, they reflect an ontological confidence in God's reality amidst an epistemological humility, an acceptance that while we may not know everything, we can trust in what has been revealed to us. For the blind men, despite their lack of direct knowledge, their faith was powerful enough to move Jesus to action. According to your faith, let it be done to you, Matthew 9:29. This shift from doubt to trust is significant. It highlights that humans often act based on a pattern of coherence, not on the completeness of their understanding. We don't need to know everything to act with confidence. We just need to know enough to trust. This is where ARTAG, re-engineered transcendental argument for God, offers clarity. It teaches that our logic, while real and valuable, is not universally exhaustive. Rather, it is dimensionally constrained, much like a two-dimensional being trying to understand a three-dimensional reality through the shadows it can perceive. God's truth, like a shadow, is visible to us, but not fully accessible. We believe not because we see everything, but because we see enough to trust in what is revealed to us. However, some might question if agnostic theism undermines true faith. Doesn't admitting uncertainty dilute belief? In response, ARTAG offers a different perspective. Faith in this context is not about the absence of knowledge, but about the wisdom of acknowledging our limitations. It encourages a posture of humility, one that invites ongoing discovery and dialogue with the divine. Just as a child trusts a parent despite not understanding every detail of their actions, believers are called to trust in God's nature and plan, even when the full picture is beyond our comprehension. This humble trust doesn't diminish faith, it enhances it. The Apostle Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 13:12 resonate deeply with this. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. This passage, rich with nuance, suggests that knowledge is partial and yet fully enough for faith to thrive. Our epistemological limits don't negate our ontological confidence. They simply shape it, pushing us into deeper engagement with what we can understand. The stories we hear and the categories we bring to them shape how we interpret reality. We often trust because we've been primed by the patterns of stories in our lives, stories of faith and trust that have been passed down and made available to us. As we hear about Abraham's journey, the blind men's trust, and countless other biblical narratives, we begin to see the world through a lens that makes faith in the unseen feel natural, even rational. The more we reflect on these stories, the more they become available to our understanding of what trust in God looks like in our own lives. Thus, the Bible does promote a form of agnostic theism, a belief in God that acknowledges the limits of human knowledge while maintaining a firm trust in his existence and revelation. Faith, in this sense, isn't the absence of knowledge, but the wisest response to the knowledge we do possess. ARTAG provides a philosophical framework for this posture of belief, suggesting that while we may not see everything clearly, we can still see enough to trust and move forward in faith. The journey of trust, shaped by humility and guided by the stories we hear, becomes an invitation to walk forward, not in certainty, but in wisdom, a wisdom that acknowledges both the mystery and the revelation of the divine. Want to go deeper? This is just a glimpse of the ideas in my upcoming ebook, re-engineered transcendental argument for God, where classical apologetics meets dimensional logics and modern analogies. Follow me for updates, insights, and previews from the book. Let's rethink the foundations of reason, one layer at a time.